Uh, there are reasonably good health services in Latin America. The problem in Latin America is not access to drugs, it's not the availability of a drug that will treat something. The problem is equitable access to that drug. And in order to get equitable access, you need to have a greater form of equity than you have at the moment. And I think everyone recognizes that. Getting more equitable societies, you can't inoculate for a more equitable society. This is a question of debate and conversation and dialogue. It's a matter of the voices that have not been to the fore being to the fore. It's a matter of putting these things on public agendas, be they town hall meetings or they be national debates that are going on. It's about that kind of process taking place. I'm a big fan of Medellin in Colombia because of what it's done. And that's essentially what they did. They didn't say, we will have a set of specific programs targeted at particular areas. They said, we're going to open up the space in Medellin for a lot more debate. And they introduced the cable cars, which everyone knows now, because they provided a different view on the city you live in. They connected people together. They promoted dialogue. They had a process of 10% of the council's budget being spent by each community. So each community gets to spend at its discretion 10% of the council budget for its area. This promoted debate and dialogue and discussion. It gave a space for women's rights to come in, for questions of violence, which is a huge issue here, to come in, etc. So I think what we're going to look at in a post-MDG world is much more to do with these kind of processes. There will, however, be, if I was explaining this in front of 100 people, 90 people would disagree with me, because there is still a belief in development that you can in some way develop a new scientific process that will fix things. The Gates Foundation, for example, I think, has this particular view, Mr. Gates himself. So they put a lot of effort into a malaria drug. But let me give a warning on this, and it's an example. Polio doesn't exist anymore, thankfully, in Latin America. It's only in 5 or 6 countries in the world. In 2001, and polio is the best funded health program in the world by a long way, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and has had considerable success. But in 2001 and 2002, people in the poorest areas of the world, northern Nigeria, northern India, Afghanistan and Pakistan, some of the economically poorest areas, organized to completely stop the polio campaign. And they did it through social organization. They didn't do it through immunization, which is what the polio folks wanted to do, of course. And I think there are some lessons in that about what the post-MDG world should look at. Social organizations, social norms, greater levels of accountability, more emphasis on rights, etc. And that's where communication comes in.